Alright, what's up guys? I'm Chris. This is my first take at my cooking channel. This is a pilot. We're going to see if we're any good at this. And today we're going to make a roasted pepper and tomato soup. Now why this soup? We were at a restaurant yesterday, my wife's favorite. It's a local restaurant about 2 blocks from our house. And she was super stoked about getting some tomato soup. Unfortunately, they had just ran out earlier that day. So not wanting to see her disappointed, I'm going to have my go at it. So I had these very big, grandiose plans, called my brother who's a restaurateur, told him all about it, and he said, Chris, take it down a couple notches, kicked around some ideas, and this is what we came up with. This is gonna be my take on how we do a roasted tomato and pepper soup. We'll see if it's any good or not. Okay, so what do we have here? First thing we have is we have 2 whole peppers, 1 onion. I'm gonna only probably use half of that. It's up to the individual, whatever you like. If you like a lot of onion, throw the whole thing in. And then we have 3 heirloom tomatoes. So, and of course a carrot as well. There's gonna be some other ingredients that go in that you guys are gonna all see later. But for right now, these are the main ingredients that we wanna go with. Obviously ours is gonna be really heavy on the pepper side and a little lighter on the tomato side. We'll see how that turns. A carrot. I'm gonna go ahead and use a little bit of carrot for sweetening, but I don't wanna over roast it, so we're not gonna put it in there. I'm gonna do something slightly different with that. All right, so first I want to make a little bit of spice for the peppers and the onion. It's gonna be a simple mix. I'll show you how I do it. So the first thing I wanna do is obviously a little bit of kosher salt, a little bit of pepper. I use coarse ground. I like to use this a lot in my barbecue. Doesn't like to shake out very well, but we're gonna put a little bit in here and the rest back. And then a secret ingredient that I like to use a lot is white pepper. It really spices it up, so you gotta be a little reserved with it. So about that much. Let me show you what we got here. So in the pepper, we just kind of toss it around. I like to mix it around with my fingers a little bit, get it going, and now all the flavors are there. So we got the oil on the peppers and the tomatoes. We just want to sprinkle a little bit on this. It doesn't take a whole lot. I just like to get these flavors talking to each other while we're doing this. Set this aside. Next thing we do is we take some very inexpensive aluminum foil out. And the only reason why I'd use this is because I don't want to dirty up my cutting board. It's a pain to clean. So put both of these right here. I'm gonna drizzle a little bit of olive oil on the onion and the carrot. Brush this in with my hands a little bit. Just make sure that we get it over everything. And then as well as the carrot, get that nice and coated. Want to keep this coated for moisture on the grill. And then we're going to put a little bit of salt and pepper mix on the carrot too. Rub it in really generously. I think the nice spice from the white pepper will balance out that sweetness from the carrot. I haven't quite determined the plan for getting the carrot into a puree into the soup, but we'll figure that out when we get there. Yep, and that's it for right. For the next part, my brother swears that I need to make a bit of a roux for the soup. Now the problem is my wife's gluten-free. So he gave me this other idea of just using a thickener using cornstarch. So what I'm gonna do is I got 1 cup of water in here. I'm gonna put another cup of water in here, bring this to a boil. There we go. Probably too big of a burner. And here I have 1 tablespoon full of water, cold water from the fridge. And I'm gonna put 1 tablespoon of cornstarch in the cold water. In doing that, we're gonna make this nice and thick, and then once that water starts to boil, we're gonna cook it down into a nice thickener, and you'll see me drop that in as soon as this water starts boiling. All right, so one of the things I'm going to show you today is you don't have to cook this recipe on the most fancy grill. This one my wife picked up for like $17 because our fancy gas one broke and she was tired of cooking indoors. So I haven't gotten around to making my own yet. I can't really find one that I like, so I'm gonna weld one up myself. That'll probably come out later. But for right now, I'm just using this tiny little tin grill. One of the things about me is I love to campfire cook. So anything over an open flame, that involves not just charcoal, but mostly wood too. Because we're just gonna cook with a small fire today, I sliced up a couple of pieces of this pecan wood here. I didn't want to put a big chunk on there because I didn't want to have a lot left over. So what I'm gonna do is I want to set this on there before the coals go completely white hot. The reason for that is I want to get that flame to go down, and I want the wood itself to coal up a little bit too, so we're not imparting too much smoke into the peppers or the rest of the vegetables that we're using. So I'm just gonna set this one right here. Notice that it's not wet. I don't want it wetted out at all. I just kind of want to get that going and let that kind of simmer down. We're gonna come back and check on the fire in probably 5-10 minutes, and we'll spread everything out, lay the grill down with all the veggies on it, and get everything blackened up on this grill here. Okay, so we have a lot of garlic here, and there's the old saying, can you ever have too much garlic? Funny thing is, we were at a restaurant and sitting at the bar area, and we met this guy that was talking about San Francisco and the Little Italy down there, and he would not quit about going to this restaurant that they just over garlicked everything. Funny enough, like 6-8 months later, we're in San Francisco at the Little Italy, and we see the restaurant he's talking about. So we're like, we gotta try it, right? The answer to that question is, can you ever have too much garlic? Is yes, you can have way too much garlic. So right now I have this peeled garlic. I got this tin, which is like a barbecue or secret. These are perfect for everything from keeping your smoker moist to and humid to cooking small things. So right now, I'm probably not gonna use all of this garlic in the recipe, but what I wanna do is make a nice olive oil that I can use later for the bread to dip in. Might put a little bit more spices in it or not. Haven't quite decided that yet. I think I'll figure that out along the way. But right now we've got all of this garlic in here. And the next step is we're gonna use a lot of this olive oil that we just bought. And when I say a lot, we want the garlic swimming in the olive oil. Now this is not gonna all go to waste because we're gonna take the olive oil afterwards and we're gonna use that for a number of different things. But I just kind of wanna get this going very nicely. So right here, you can see that we have the olive oil sitting in the tin, and we have that ready to go for whenever we put these veggies on the fire. And the onion and the carrot, we're gonna go ahead and roast this as well. We want that smoke to kind of tumble into it, so it's gonna have a little bit of a more earthy flavor than what you typically would do like on the stove if you were to heat this up and let the garlic soak in it. But yeah, so that's what we're gonna try on this episode. So now we got our fire about ready. I probably want to give it a couple more minutes, but it's going to take some time to go inside the kitchen and lay everything out on the grill the way I want. I got my wood cooking fairly well. It's kind of coaling up on the bottom side, and yeah, the top side's not quite there yet, but we're going to spread these out a little bit to kind of give us a bigger surface to cook on. Again, we're not going to need a ton of this, but we want this to keep going just to kind of give it that nice campfire flavor that I kind of want to try in this. Again, I've never done this before. We don't know if this is going to be that great or not, but I figure why not give it a try? You miss every shot that you don't take, right? Isn't that what Michael Jordan said? So got my fire going. Now it's time to kind of prep that grill. So we're going to leave this for a few. And then all right, so what I want to do is, this is the grill top. I've removed it because I want to place everything on the grill and then put it on the heat. So just moving some stuff around here. Yeah, so let's start getting everything nice and organized. We got the chunks from our garlic. Put this here. I'm gonna move this. I'm a stickler I like to keep a nice clean kitchen. This is a little on the messy side, so gives me a smidge of anxiety, but we just want to just lay this out nice and even. Again, the idea is just to really kind of get a nice char on this and maybe impart some of that charcoal and wood flavor into it. So we're just going to lay this out here. What I'm going to do then is walk this out to the grill and get it cooked on the grill itself. Again, we're just looking for a nice char, and it looks like my cheap grill is not going to cooperate, so there we have it nice and laid down. And while you're watching that, I am just going to put this garlic over here. So we might need to move some stuff around. Some of this is just flame organization and getting this cooked the way we want it to. So, so yeah, let's move the tomatoes because they don't need as much heat as some of these other items do. And so that one's nice and dense. So I want these dense ones right over the fire. We're gonna put this guy back here. See how all this works out. And then we shut and bake for a little bit. Again, this is the cheapest grill you can buy, so haven't quite gotten around to making my own yet, but listen to that sizzle in there. You can see the smoke is just billowing out, so I think we're gonna get a lot of interesting flavors from this cook. Kitchen, we're just going to pull this carrot out. It's soft. It's not as soft as I want it, so that's going to have to do a little bit in the boil to really soften up. But I think we got the good part that we wanted, which was you know, those nice grill marks. We got the good smoke flavor. Why do you buy this foil? And so what we're going to do is we're going to cover it. A lot of people use saran wrap for this part. I hate saran wrap. It sticks to everything, and we're not friends. Saran wrap and I are not friends. So, well, we're not friends with this foil either, but we'll get through it, guys. Just bear with me. So here we go. We got the foil on it, and what we want to do is we want to shock the skins off of our vegetables. I don't want to have the vegetables, I don't want to put them in the soup with the skin. I want to actually pull the skin off. Which to me is kind of counterintuitive, but I think it's going to make for a better texture. We're still going to get that smoky charness that we want, but what we're going to do is we're going to pull out some of that. It's almost like pulling off a silver skin if you've ever done a brisket or a ribs or anything like that. So, so yeah, this is going to chill for a little bit, and we're going to shock that off. I might actually even throw it in the fridge to kind of speed that process up. Not sure if that's the right thing to do or not, but I feel like the temperature variation will really kind of make it pop off. So we'll see if it works or not. All right, sorry about that, guys. Had a brief interruption because my dog was trying to die on us and interrupting everything. What I was saying was the olive oil mix cooking with the garlic basically made raisins. So what I've done is I put some more olive oil on the stove, which I'll show you in just a minute. Right now, we're just trimming down some fresh veggies. Pull them off. They should have been chopped nicely, and they were. So let's have a quick look at this. We got that nice char that we wanted. We got that smoke that we smell. And it's time to just kind of really just peel this off and get the skins off of it so that we have these nice heirloom tomatoes. Some of it's coming off really easy. Some of it's taking a little bit more time. But what I want to do is I want to chop these up afterwards and get these into soup before the blend. I want all of these friends to talk to each other before they really go into the blender. And I'm not sure if that's the right way or the wrong way, but it's my way, and that's the way I'm gonna try it for this soup. In the bowl, we got all of our grilled veggies, and we're just gonna mix it around quite a bit. I wanted to really talk to that olive oil and juice that we pulled off the grill, so it's just kind of stirring. I probably wish I would have chopped these onions up a little bit more, but we'll see what happens. So now what we're gonna do is put this in the stove. Let's get all of this out. So it's in there with the olive oil and the garlic that you saw from earlier. Just turn the stove on a bit and warm this mixture right up. Once it warms up, we got some more things that we're gonna do to it, but I kind of want this to cook for a bit. It looks like a, almost like a cooked salsa or something, but we'll get this sorted right out. Okay, so now that we got it to a slow simmer, everyone's getting to be friends in here, we're gonna add a little bit of chicken broth. Actually, we're probably gonna add a lot of chicken broth as a base, because I want this to be not quite as thick, and what I'll probably do is cook this down quite a bit. And then over here, we got some spices. Can you see these spices? So we have paprika, black pepper, some kosher salt, probably not enough kosher salt. One of us might have to run back out to the store. And we have a bit of white pepper to kind of add that spice to it. So we're gonna dump all of this in. Get all that paprika in there. And we're gonna stir this around and let this cook for a little bit. Might add a bit more broth so that we can cook this down. And this is just some generic organic chicken broth, because again, my wife, organic, we pay more than we need to for this stuff. But we got the chicken broth and we're just adding that in and stirring it around. So you can see that we still have some of that char. It's gonna be a little darker than a normal tomato and pepper soup, but I kind of like that. I kind of like that there's some authenticity to it, and that we're gonna get this, I think we're gonna get this one right, man. I really do. So we'll see. All right, so now we got the boil going really, really nicely. The next thing we're gonna do is I'm gonna add some heavy cream. I always love cooking with cream. I think it gives it a great texture. So we got this generic, not organic, sorry, Michelle, cream, and I'm just gonna pour it in. I want it to be nice and thick. And as I pour it in, I'm gonna stir it. It really lightens it up, doesn't it, after that char? But we have a really, really loose soup at this point. I'm gonna go ahead and put all of it in, why not? Just a pint, half pint? Half pint. And get that going so it's nice and creamy with all these vegetables. Now our carrots have softened up quite a bit. You know, I cooked these down for probably 30 minutes in the boil, so it's cooked nicely, but I don't want them to lose all of that sugary goodness. The next thing I'm gonna do, and again, this was a recommendation from my brother, is go ahead and add some thickener to it. So this is the cornstarch that we're gonna add in, and I just wanna add in a little bit because I've never cooked with this stuff before, and I have no idea how it's gonna behave. So just stirring it in and getting it thick. That was probably 2 tablespoonfuls Hopefully it doesn't impart a lot of flavor. You know, I'm gonna add one more just to get it to thicken. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and let that cook down quite a bit. So that we get a nice, a little bit, I'd like to have a little bit of a thicker texture. My wife might disagree with me. She might want a little bit more of a soupy texture, but we're gonna go ahead and let this stuff get to be friends for just a little bit longer. The onions have really kind of cooked down. In retrospect, I probably should have tossed the onions in before the garlic, thrown those in, fried them up a little bit, chopped them up a little bit better than I did, and then fried them, put the garlic in real quick, stirred that up, and then dumped all the veggies in. But retrospect being what it is, it's here we are now. So we'll see how this goes. I'm just gonna let this cook for probably another 10 minutes and then transfer it to the blender and then put it back on here to reheat. I'll let it cool down in between those times because I don't like blending hot foods. All right guys, so we had all of it boiling and chilling out for about an hour-ish or so. It thickened up pretty nicely. I like the consistency of everything. Now it's time to put it in the blender and puree it. Now here's a problem and also a fun fact. So I have a 17-year-old teenager whose chore it was, or is, to unload the dishwasher. Where the lid for this thing is anyone's guess. We can't find it anywhere. So rather than use the little protein shaker version, we're gonna try to do this with the big version. Now, the fun part about this blender is this pin has to go all the way down for it to activate. And we're either gonna have a massive explosion or we're gonna have a lot of goodness here. So with that, let's try to make this work. I'm gonna try to use saran wrap, which I said earlier, not a huge fan of, for these reasons. It just never wants to come out. And we don't buy the highest quality of saran wrap. All right, so after a proper blending of what I guesstimated was the right amount of time, we are going to reheat this because there's the final ingredient that I want to put through. Now the blender doesn't want to come off. That's a problem. That's a real problem. All right, and now it's going right back in. I'm really liking that consistency. And we got some hot soup. So let's warm this back up for the one final ingredient, which is kind of exciting. And during that, we're gonna make some toast for dipping. All right guys, so the final ingredient in the soup is I got this nice shaved Parmesan. Meant to shave my own Parmesan, just felt like it was better use of time to go ahead and buy the shave. So I'm gonna throw some in here. I like the Parmesan because it's a high temp cheese, and I kind of want to get a little bit of that cheesy texture. So how much is too much, I guess, is up to the individual, but we're gonna go ahead and throw in quite a bit. I don't want it really droopy, but I want to get that tang from the Parmesan in there. So there's the Parmesan. Wrap this up. I'm gonna go ahead and stir this in a little bit just to kind of get it working and melting. My wife Michelle says more Parmesan, please. So more, what Mama says, Mama gets. So more Parmesan in it. I want to say a little bit. She says that's good enough. All right, there we go. So there's our Parmesan. So for you guys to know, my wife's the one behind the camera, and we're stirring this in. So it's getting thick. Zoe, you want a bowl of soup?
Oh, okay, we're leaving. We're leaving now.
Okay, have fun. We'll see you at the
It's
game.
freezing out there.
Did the big reveal. You want some, Jess?
Nope, let's go. Hey, guys, outdoors. I hate to say no, but we have to go. Bye, Chris. Bye.
All right. So here we go. We're gonna do the toast now. let's see how this turned out. It'll be interesting. In the small taste test that I've done thusly, it needed, some of the things you didn't see on camera was it needed some more salt. I put a lot more salt in it than you saw that I dumped in. It needed a lot. The white pepper and the black pepper actually melded great. And then I put some sugar in there just to kind of sweeten it up. I probably should have used a couple more carrots, but let's see how this turned out. So quickly put some in the soup. Here we go. And I am going to have some of this toast over here too. So quick plate out. So I'm gonna try it a couple different ways. So this is my wife's way, which is just with a little bit of cracked pepper and some olive oil. This is the toasted olive oil that I should call really just burnt olive oil. In fact, guys, I used all of our soup spoons in making this, so I had to take a quick pause and hand wash one. Seems crazy to run out of soup spoons, but that's what can happen sometimes. So I'm just gonna lay a couple pieces of the Parmesan cheese across it. I know we put a lot in, but I thought it would be nice to have some with that garnish. And so let's try this. I eat my soup a little weird in that I eat it more like chips and salsa. So got some of that goodness, got the Parmesan on, and it's gonna be really hot. And good. Got the salt right, got the pepper right. That smokiness definitely came through. This might not be a soup for everybody because the smoke did come through. A lot of times people want that super clean, that French on white, you know, tomato soup with the roasted red peppers in it. I obviously, if you have a quick look in here, I obviously kept a little bit of those skins on, so there's a little bit of char still in there. It's not what, you know, the Michelin chefs will say is the prettiest soup. I think it's really good. For a campfire soup, and for my first try at this, let's try it again. It's really good. It's really good. Now for the second toast with the toasted burnt olive oil, let's try this one. So this one should be a little spicier. Let it cool a bit. No difference. No difference. The soup itself is really good. I think it's going to be fantastic tomorrow or even the next day once it goes through a couple of heat cycles, once it cools down, once all those flavors have a good chance to marry into each other. A little spicy. Honestly, a little on the spicier side. I'm kind of surprised about that. But as far as a hearty soup for cold nights like tonight, this is perfect. With that, guys, I'm out. We'll see you next time.